Right, today is Wednesday. I think is it the 31st?
31st.
31st of July 2013. I'm here at the house of Milton Geddes in Southampton, UK, Southampton, Hampshire, UK. Just to talk about your life in sound system and black music in Southampton in general. So, Milton Geddes, first of all, I think you know the drill by now.
Yeah.
I just wanted to,
Yes.
for you to introduce yourself and what year you came to England and from where.
Well, my name is Milton Geddes. I was born in Jamaica. I came to this country in 1960 as a young schoolboy. I more or less grew up in Southampton, where I'm still living today.
Right, and what year did you come to Southampton, Milton?
1960.
1960.
Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. So you've been here for well over 53 years.
Yes.
And when black people first came to Southampton, which area did they first migrate to? Which was the area of settlement?
Well, it's called St. Mary's now, but I prefer to call it the Derby Road area.
Derby Road area, yeah.
Because everything was centered around Derby Road. And I was living in Clovelly Road, which is a branch of Derby Road.
Yeah.
So I like to call it the Derby Road area rather than St. Mary's.
Yeah, so I think people call it Newtown, people call it St.
Well,
Mary's.
yes, over the years,
Yeah.
it's given a lot of new names and all that, but I'm sticking to Derby Road area because that's what everyone knows as the Derby Road area in the old days.
Yeah. So in 1960, I mean, the Derby Road, Newtown area must have been a lot different to what it was today.
Complete different.
What was the dominant community in that area at the time?
Well, everyone was living in the same area. Like today in Southampton, where you have black people all over the place. No one was living, I would say, the furthest black people was living from the Derby Road area would be in the Postwood area. You know, right? Everyone was in the same area, you see.
Right, so when you first came to the Derby Road area in 1960, how many Caribbean families were there, if you could estimate?
Oh, Christ. We're talking Caribbean, not just Jamaican.
Yeah, Caribbean families.
Roughly, I would say 150 to 200.
Right. And I know now there's a big Asian population there, but were there a lot of Indians and Pakistanis there in 1960?
There was, I would say at that time, well, the Caribbean would be outnumbering the Asian, but there was quite a few.
Right. Okay. So everyone migrated to the Derby Road area. And in terms of facilities, in terms of shops for Caribbean food, cosmetics, were there any businesses there? No such thing.
No such thing. In fact, I can go as far as and say my mother was the first customer for the very first Indian shop that was opened.
Right. And who opened that Indian shop?
Oh Christ, I can't remember. I know he's dead now. I can't remember his name. But that shop was on Derby Road.
Right.
It is not a shop now. I think the council built some houses there now.
Right.
And there's so many different shops now, but the first one was on Derby Road.
Right. So, as a young black man living in Southampton in the 1960s, in terms of music, entertainment, where could you hear, the music that you're into? First of all, I suppose I want to ask you, what type of music were you into, Milton?
Well, in those days, as a youngster coming up, I grew up with what they call blue beat and ska. But let me explain. When I said blue beat and ska, I'm not talking about two different music. I'm talking about one music. In Jamaica, the music was called the ska, S-K-A. Now, here in England, because it was on a blue beat label, they call it a blue beat. So that's why it ends up with the two name, blue beat and ska. So the people from the outside now thinking that they're two different music, but it was just one music with two names.
Right. And what name some famous blue beat or ska singers so everyone who don't know about blue beat will be familiar with them or can research them?
Right, we'd have to start with what they would call the king of ska would be Prince Buster, Derek Morgan, Toots and the Maytals, which was one of my favorite. The Maytals, Justin Hines and the Dominoes, and of course, I almost left the fate one of the best one out, the Scatterlights.
Scatterlights, okay. So, living in Southampton, that was the music you were into in the 1960s?
And soul.
And soul. But where could you hear this music, living in Southampton?
Well, you could. In those days, we used to listen to what we call the radiogram, or wireless. So of course, they don't play those sort of music. So usually, coming over from the Caribbean, Jamaica especially, you always most people brought the music with them.
Records.
So, records. So those are the music you can listen to by playing it, because on the radio they don't play those sort of music. So you have to play your own music. And when you sort of tired of listening to the same music all the time, you listen to some of their music. Not because they like it, but because they have no choice.
So you have a few records where you get sick and tired of listening to the same records.
Because you can't replace the record you've got, because there's no way to buy new records. And you're playing the same thing day in, day out. So,
so there weren't any shops in Southampton that sold black music and black records?
Not at the beginning. I'm talking at the beginning now.
1960s.
As we move on, things start progress. But in 1960, there was nothing like that.
So later, who started opening? Did shops open where you could buy black music?
Yes. First of all, gradually, you saw the skinheads back in those times, and the skinheads now, they were into that type of music.
Right.
So now, first of all, the few clubs that are around, they wouldn't allow black people in. They would make all kind of excuses to exclude us. They come up with all kind of anything.
This is as a young man when you wanted to go uptown to dance in nightclubs in Southampton.
Oh yeah. Oh, you boot not this, you're wearing the wrong clothes, you haven't got the tie, anything, you know what I mean.
To stop black people getting into nightclubs. So they used to criticise the way you dress and stuff.
Well, it's an excuse. So they probably even say, hey, too big. Any excuse they can come with,
Right.
Because if they say you don't dress right, and if you go on and change the dress and dress the older dress, they'll find something else. So they always try to come with something to make sure you don't get in. But because the skinhead was into the music, now it would be a shame to be playing the black people music without no black people there at all. So gradually they start letting us in.
Right. So this is skinhead clubs, because most people like myself who are younger, our memories of skinheads in the 70s and 80s were that they were racist, they didn't like black or Asian people, but they listened to black music.
Yeah. Yes. In fact, when they start sending for the artists from Jamaica, because of course it would be the white people who start sending for the black artists from Jamaica, they were more or less mobbed by the skinheads. Anyway they were playing, as black people, you have to get there really early, because if you don't get early, you can't get in. Not because they don't want you in that time, because the venue would be packed, because the skinhead, they'll be there before you, so you got to get there early.
So what famous artists came to Southampton to the skinhead gigs and concerts? What artists do you remember?
Start up with the clubs. The first club to start importing Jamaican music artists was a club called Adam and Eve
in
Southampton. And one of the first artists there was I can remember was Pat Kelly.
Right.
Derek Morgan. Um, the Pioneers, yet till YBA. There was another one. Okay. Ooh. There was another one. I'm slipping my mind at the minute.
But these people all came to Southampton in the 1960s.
Yeah. Well, it's moved up a bit now. We're moving on to about 65, 66 now.
Right. Okay. Brilliant. So you mentioned that there was no black music in the shops. And so black music shops opened maybe a bit later on.
Yes.
What ones do you actually remember? And what year?
There's only one person, one black person who opened. Oh Christ, I can't remember the exact year, but it's back in the 60s. Though I would say somewhere between about 67, 68.
Yeah.
And that's Gillins.
Oh, Celine Gillings.
Yes, that
Right.
was on Onslow Road.
Onslow Road, which is near the Derby Road area.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so he started selling a lot of the Jamaican music.
Lot of Jamaican music.
Right. So a lot of people bought their records from
there.
Yeah.
And you also now you start having another shops that sell black music was down by the market in St. Mary's.
St. Mary's Street.
I don't know the name of the owner, but
yeah,
that was a popular one as well. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So basically, you're a young black man in the 60s in Southampton. You want to hear black music, but there's no record shop selling the records, that you want to listen to. You try to go into nightclubs, and there's like a racist door policy, and most times young black men can't go into nightclubs uptown. So how did the black community create its own social scene?
We jumped a bit far too fast a bit there for the club, because we used to have to our enjoyment is what we used to call house parties.
So black people started their own house parties.
House parties, and that was before the clubs actually. So we jump a bit.
Yeah.
And my cousin, which is Cecil Geddes, he had this big house in Dens Avenue. Now, as a boy, that's where everything started for me.
Right.
And every weekend that's where most people head for.
Right.
Around Cecil for enjoyment.
So basically, black people in the Derby Road area started house parties.
That's right.
I think the other names for these house parties were...
Well, blues or Shebeens. That's later on.
Yeah, they're called blues parties or Shebeens.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So what was the setup in these house parties?
Well, it's nothing special about it. First of all, you have to have a good size house, because if you have a tiny house, that's not good.
Right.
You see, and most of the houses in Dens Avenue, they would have cellars down in the cellar, so which nice and roomy for for a lot of people to meet and so on.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how it started. Now, when I left school, now I always had it in my mind that I want to go a bit further, because when I was at school, I used to be bragging about the Jan sound system that I left in my native country.
Yeah.
Of course, my English classmate, they have no idea what I'm talking about.
Right.
Because never heard of such a thing.
Yeah.
And then it got worse when I started to talk about things like toasting. They thought I'm talking about bread. Mixing, they thought I'm talking about cakes.
Yeah.
And so when I left school, I decided, I want to build my own sound system.
So what year did you actually leave school then?
About 66 or
66,
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah. Because I've got family around the country, and what we were doing, certain times we will visit families in London and in the north as well, but mostly London.
Where there's bigger black communities.
Yes, and then they'll come down and stay with us, So when I'm up there, they'll take us to the clubs, because my cousin was in charge of clubs. One of the big club in London was the Rolling 20s then.
Right.
So I was taken there quite regular, you see. So I get used to the ideas. So I decided I want to build my own sound system. So I start talking to my cousin and so on, and they inform me how to do it. But then I have to get somebody down here. And by doing a lot of researching, you know, I might have come up with a guy who could build the boxes as well.
Right. So you mentioned toasting. Toasting is when...
All right, yes, I should clarify for the people who don't understand. When I said toasting, we have now changed the name toasting now. We are rapping now for those people who don't know.
Rapping actually has its origins in Jamaican toasting.
It's toasting. Rapping comes from toasting.
Right.
And of course, people who don't know about mixing,
yeah.
Right? Jamaica is the first who start mixing music.
Right.
Because most people do just play this all-in-one music. Jamaica was the place where they start to mix music. And they can research it because you have a man called Mr. Scotch Perry.
Right.
You know, and they'll find that they call him mad scientist.
Yeah.
He's more or less started all these things.
Right. So mixing, so sound system consisted of mixing the music, of rapping over the music.
Yeah. But rapping come much later.
Toasting over the music.
Toasting was back in the 60s. You know. Toasting is something where you go chick-a-choo, over the rhythm.
Right.
When I was rapping, I would use the words.
Yes. Okay. So basically, it's just a way of breaking up a record and making it exciting by building some vibes by talking over it.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So that's what happened then. So black people weren't allowed in large part in the club, so they started their own house parties, which became blues parties and shebeens. And so this started in the Derby Road area in the 60s.
Yes.
How popular did this become? On any one night, was there only just one blues party as these things progressed?
Well, any one night, it's always say 3 blues parties.
In the Derby Road area?
But you always have one main one.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
The first big one was back in at end of Northampton Road.
Right.
You know, I don't really want to say his name because...
Okay. Yeah.
Right? He had one of the first big ones.
Yeah.
And then as time progresses, somebody took up the baton again.
Yeah.
And this one, same place on Northampton Road, but further up going more toward the market end.
Right, okay, yeah.
And that was the very best one. That was Liebert's.
Liebert's, yeah.
Yeah.
So there was it's a Friday, Saturday night. You're young, you're black, you're living in Southampton. You know you can't go into town because they're going to let you in. So you're all dressed up, ready to go to meet people in the Derby Road area, into various little house parties that you know are happening. How did people hear about these house parties? Was it just word of mouth?
Word of mouth.
Okay, right. And so what was the setup inside? You go into a house or a cellar, and what sort of things happen in there? What could you buy? People talk about food, people talk about drink. I want to know what type of music, where the sound system was, the number of people, what was the makeup of the people, that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's a cellar, and the makeup of it would be like a nightclub today.
Right,
you know,
a nightclub in a house.
In a house, you know, only because you'd observe that you're coming through a cellar, and there's a house on top. If you was to if there are another side entrance where you don't see the house and just walk in, you think you're in a normal club. Right,
okay. And so alcohol, could you buy alcohol there?
Yes, everything there, food a lot.
Right, so you could buy Caribbean food, you could buy a beer or spirits, okay. Like a club where you could eat, where you could drink. Now, what did they use? They used sound systems for the music in there?
Yes.
Okay, and how powerful were these sound systems?
Yeah, man, they were powerful, all right.
Speakers, what size?
Massive.
What size were the speakers? If you could compare them to a piece of furniture in the house.
We're talking about H&M speakers.
All right. What, big as fridges or doors?
Bigger than most fridges.
Right.
So you're feeling when those bass line turn on, it's like an earthquake. But those who don't know what an earthquake is, just want to listen to all sorts of things and find out.
And so on any one night in these blues parties and shebeens, how many people would be there in the party?
Well, let's say you can't count them.
Yeah.
Because you're so packed up, you've been shoved up against the wall in no time. But on a rough guess, you're talking about sometimes 400 people cramped into not a massive hall, if you know what I mean.
Right. So
and you can say even though it's packed inside, you still have a lot of people outside who can't get in.
Right, just feeling the vibes from the outside. And was the crowd mainly black or was it cosmopolitan?
No, you have a lot of mixture. A lot of mixture.
So it was black people,
Yeah.
white people.
I can remember going to blues some night and I'm completely outnumbered. Well, most of the women are white women.
Mostly white women and black men.
Very rarely see the white men that came came there with friends.
Yeah.
But most of the white women, they'll be going out with black guys.
Right. So in those days there was a lot of mixed relationships.
Yeah.
So mainly West Indian men and English women.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So the blues was the place to be. Basically.
Place to be.
Now, what kind of time? Because I know that timing, when it comes to timing for Jamaican entertainment, is slightly different to British time. I know the pubs ring the last orders at what? 11:15,
Yes.
which is totally different to Jamaican timing. So tell me a bit more about Jamaican entertainment time.
No, I've got a phrase. I pick up this phrase. I pick up this phrase in Jamaica actually, so I'm gonna give you the Jamaican phrase because it was the same year. I went to Jamaica and I was at this club, and I said to the guy, "What time this club finish?" And he says to me, "When everybody gone." In other words, when there's no one left. That's when it's finished.
So what kind of time would these blues parties in Southampton begin?
Oh Christ, you can go down there from say 9 o'clock, but there's nothing will be happening, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It'd be open, but if you want to be a early bird, you can stay there. You won't. The music would. You might have like background music. In other words, it would be thumping.
Yeah.
Just like the sound be playing, but it's playing very low. You have a background music and you can buy your drinks.
Yeah.
But we're talking when things start really moving now. You have to get there at least 11:30 upwards. 11.
11:30 upwards. Wow.
Going right back until about 9 o'clock the next morning.
People were done. Hold on, did I hear this right? People start warming up about 11:30 and they leave when the sun rises.
Yes.
Oh gosh. So you've got these house parties, several of them in the Derby Road area, on the weekends mainly. Loud thumping bassy music. Ska, blue beat, but then as the decades progress, what type of music would they play in these?
We moved from ska to rocksteady.
Rocksteady.
Yeah, we haven't got to reggae yet, have we?
Right.
We moved from ska to rocksteady.
Yeah.
And after rocksteady, we have what we call lovers rock.
Right.
Then reggae comes into play.
Right. So these blues parties started in the 60s, and what kind of decade did they progress right up to? I mean, blues were happening as late as when in the Derby Road area?
I would say right up until the 90s.
The 90s.
Yeah.
So 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. And obviously you've got loud music. Everyone's enjoying themselves, but obviously when you live in a residential area, you must have had some complaints from the local community.
Oh yes, especially when I was playing my sound, because I was living in Clover Valley Road, so that was more or less you say that one of the most respectful street. You see, so we used to have a lot of complaint there.
Yeah.
Because I remember the police used to be coming in regularly in the night.
The police used to raid these parties.
Well, not so raid. They just come turn the sound down, because the people were complaining, and then we turn it down when they're there, and when they're gone, we turn it back up again.
But the police never shut down any blues parties?
Oh yes, quite a few, but that was like later on,
Right. Not in the 60s.
I wouldn't say late 60s or 70s.
Yeah.
That kind of time.
Yeah. Yeah.
In the early period, they just come on, and ask us to turn it down a bit, but not close down, because they knew that was our way of entertaining ourselves. Because the police they do know what's going on, and they know that we want to enjoy ourselves, but we're not allowed in most of the clubs.
So they know this is your way
our
of
way
compensating for
yeah.
that. Yeah. So did police attitudes get a bit worse as the decades progressed?
Oh yes.
In what decade was the police attitude at its worst when it came to blues and their toleration of Shebeens?
I would say starting from the early 70s upwards in the 80s and all that. Instead of getting better, it was getting worse, you see. Because I think what they were thinking, that people were making money from that, and it was getting very popular.
Yeah.
And we as black people, we don't use our head very well, because there was a few violence down there where people would get beat up and get robbed and all that. And of course, if a person get beat up, then the police is going to be involved. And of course, they didn't like us in the first place anyway. So any little thing to to make matters worse, that's and we were giving them the ammunition. You see.
But that was the generation who was slightly, where there was instances of violence. That was the younger generation from you.
No, when I said people, like people who get beat up, like the young guys. If people comes in there that they don't recognize, and they always try to nick a purse or rob a man or something like that,
Okay. Inevitably, obviously, there's where you've got lots of humanity, you're going to get the odd problem. Okay, so that's that. But slowly, you had your house parties, but I hear that sound system dances, there were a few venues in Southampton where people were holding sound system dances in venues, you didn't just have to rely on the house parties.
No, that's what we'll get to that now, because even my son we start to break out now. Yeah. And one of my favorite venue is that St. Luke's Church down by Cranberry Avenue. Yeah. That was my favorite venue there. So
you used to hold sound system dances there?
Dances there.
Yeah. Okay.
And other venues where,
Yeah. Okay. And basically, the equipment for sound system, where did you used to get your equipment for your sound systems? Because you've got your speaker boxes, your amps, your record decks.
Well, that's what I mean. You need a guy in electronic, and then they'll know. But the speakers, my speakers, they all came from London.
From London, so you got all your equipment from London.
Yeah.
And the records, now before there was a black music shop in Southampton, where did sound system guys buy their records from?
In Southampton?
Yeah.
Well, that's what I mean, before the shops, we couldn't buy the record.
Were there other towns?
Yes, like us now, like I said, we got the Geddes family, we got a big family in London and all over the place. Yeah. So when we're in London, we do our shopping. Okay.
So there's black music shops in London in the 60s.
Because when I had my sound, if I'm not playing, even if I'm going to play, on a Saturday, I'll be up in London on a Friday.
Right.
And I'll be buying my records on Saturday.
Yeah.
And then coming back down to play Saturday night.
Right, because you've got areas in London in the 60s that had bigger West Indian populations, like Brixton.
Battersea, all those areas.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. And also you were quite famous. You came on a BBC News report because Bob Marley, little known fact, Bob Marley, before he became famous, came to Southampton. So tell us about that BBC News report that you took part in, Milton.
Well, I've got two. I was on BBC radio, but I was also on ITV television.
Ah, okay.
Meridian television.
Meridian, okay.
I think you can find me on YouTube, Meridian interview. Now, the Bob Marley story, that one I almost missed. Because like I said, I'm a regular London person. And I was in London that weekend with my friend, Tony Ellis. He's living in London now.
Yeah.
And another friend of mine, he died, David Gray. We were staying with David Gray in Battersea. And I can remember we were coming back down that Sunday night. But we'd have been coming back down later on in the evening. And it was David said to us, did you know that the Wailers in Southampton? Of course, we were shocked. What?
Bob Marley's band, the Wailers.
The Wailers. What are you talking about? He said, yes, but and he showed, because it was in a London paper that was in Swaveling.
And what year was this?
73.
73.
We were off like a shot. You know, because obviously we wanted to get the Southampton in time.
Yeah.
Of course, lucky for us, when he said that was in the morning, like about 10 o'clock in the morning when he mentioned it. And of course, if he hadn't not mentioned it, we wouldn't be leaving London until about say 7, 8 o'clock in the evening. So as soon as he mentioned that, about 10 o'clock, we were off.
So this is 1973, you're in London, you've read in the newspaper that Bob Marley and the Wailers, before they became famous, are going to be playing in of all places,
in my own town.
Why did they play in Swaveling?
Well, because you got it right there. Remember that nobody in Southampton, apart from the black people, would have known about the Wailers.
Yeah.
They were not famous at all.
Yeah.
You know, even Toots and the Maytals, the Pioneers, and all those other was in front of them. Yeah. No one ever heard of the Wailers except the black people. So these guys in Swaveling, the promoter, as I learned now, he was more or less like a skinhead.
Right.
From his skinhead brigade. So he would have known about Marley.
Right,
so
Bob Marley.
Obviously, as he got older, and he got his own place in Sweden, he decided to send for the Wailers.
So Bob Marley and the Wailers played in Southampton in 1973, and that was the news report you did.
Yes, and I was so surprised because even though it wasn't a massive place, but it was absolutely ram-packed.
So it was like a pub, basically?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was, if you lift your foot up, you better don't put it back down because you'll be standing someone there. So, you know, that's how ram-packed it was.
Yeah.
And I can only remember, now I've got a lot of people, black people, friends of mine who were saying they were there, but I can only remember my friend, Tony Ellis, who's in London, you know. I can only remember him was there. Yeah.
Right, so lastly then, Milton, what would be your message to the black community and to the younger generation, and your message in general you would like to give to the public? What message would you like to give?
Well, first of all, we must unite, right? We are fighting against each other. We're never going to get nowhere.
You mean the West Indian?
West Indian, us black people. Because when we are together,